Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to rant about just like adult friendships and one-sided friendships because that's something that's been on my mind since last year, and this is my first time doing more of a ranting podcasty kind of video. So yeah, I don't know how it'll go and if anyone will watch, but yeah, so pretty much I started thinking about this when I was going through this really big friendship breakup with two of my high school friends, or I would say two of my closest high school friends, starting last year. So I'll get more into the details like later on in this video, but to give like a brief summary, pretty much I felt like they weren't putting in enough effort into the friendship, and I confronted them about it in our group chat. It was pretty badly received, and I mean part of it was on me because I worded things pretty harshly, but at the same time I felt like they should have been able to extract my message because they know how I talk and I text exactly how I talk. So if they thought that I was being harsh, then they would have also thought that I was being harsh in real life, which wouldn't make sense because if they did think that, then they wouldn't have been friends with me. So I was thinking of how to format this, and I thought that maybe I might go a little bit more into my like background and my personal approach towards friendships. So I'm an only child, and I'm also like, super shy. So that combination has been pretty detrimental when I was younger in terms of like making friends. And you know how when you're younger, a lot of your hangouts are arranged by your parents, so then your ability to hang out with people or like your friends is also kind of contingent with how much their parents like you. So when I was younger, I was like a problem child, not in the sense of being a delinquent, but more in the sense that I just like refused to talk to some of my teachers and probably 90% of the people in my class. So then everyone thought that I had these like mental issues or whatever. And I was also not like that enthusiastic about studying, which when I was younger, a lot of my friends, like a lot of the people that my family knows are also Asian, and they're people from church. So then like the combination of me not being the most studious and the fact that my parents got called in all the time when I was younger to school because the teachers thought I had like behavioral issues because I just wouldn't talk to them. That combination was not great. And a lot of parents would just tell their kids, hey, don't hang out with Anya, like don't hang out with me. And then these kids would just they'll come to me and while we're like at church or whatever, and they'll tell me, hey, by the way, like my parents told me not to hang out with you because, they don't really like me being around you. They think you're like a bad influence. And that for a while was hurtful. So, but at the same time, because of the fact that I like wasn't able to really maintain or regularly hang out with a lot of people when I was younger, I also didn't get super attached. Like whenever this happened, I would just be like, okay, it sucks, but I myself, like I have confidence in myself that I'm a decent person and none of this is really my fault. Like everyone goes at different paces. So just because, I'm really shy right now, I'll work on it and it's not going to be a lifelong problem. And I was also not doing something that was objectively wrong. Like I wasn't beating people up. I wasn't, like doing actual delinquent activities. And yeah, so that was how it was in elementary school. And then come middle school, for some reason, I guess because I wasn't really an outgoing person, even though I was in like a friend group in elementary school, like from 5th grade going to 6th grade, I guess these people didn't view me as an equal part of that friend group. So, sometimes they would invite each other out to things like birthday parties, when they go trick-or-treating, and I would just be an afterthought. Like I would get invited last minute, and now if I were invited to things last minute, I would just not go or not even bother to respond. But back then I would go, and yeah, and I guess I also didn't really notice that I was like an afterthought back then, but I was. And I guess since I wasn't really close with these people, in my middle school, everyone got split up into like different teams every year, and you take class with the people that are in your team. So when I got split up from them in 7th grade. I like didn't know anyone in any of my classes, and in 7th grade I pretty much spent the entire year sitting by myself. And then this was when I developed kind of thick skin, and I guess like more detachment. Like if people don't really hang out with me, that's fine. And I know some people, they get anxious if, they're alone in a situation, like they're alone in class, or they don't know anyone in like a group setting. But then for me, I'm fine just spending time with myself. And I know that some people would see this and be uncomfortable, but I was fine with it. And yeah, like I spent pretty much all of 7th grade sitting by myself at lunch, and that was fine. And my mom thought that I was like super depressed at this time. Like she years later, she would be like, yeah, back in 7th grade or like in early middle school, you were kind of like depressed. And then I never thought of myself as being depressed because I was fine with it. So yeah, even now I'm like not really sure if I was. But yeah, but in 6th grade, I also had like a group of friends, kind of like we were all in the same classes, and then we would hang out. And I guess there was one point where one of them asked for my email or for my number, but I didn't have a phone at the time. And then I also didn't really use my email, so I just told her I don't have one. So I don't know if she took that as me rejecting her, but after that, it didn't really work out. Like we didn't really talk afterwards. Yeah, and then 8th grade, that was when I started actually making friends. And I think also because I'm an only child and then I'm also really shy, I was socially stunted until around 8th grade. So that was when I actually started making friends. And these were the people that I ended up hanging out with in high school. So luckily, these friends actually stuck. And yeah, going into high school, I was like with the same friend group. And then all throughout high school, it was like the same friend group. It's pretty steady. And I never felt like I wasn't really a part of this group. Like I felt like, an equal member. We would text, and it was like I would approach them, they would approach me, so it was pretty equal. And then going into college, my dad told me that a lot of people like lose friends from high school. So he was like, oh, it's great that you're still connected to your friends from high school. And I was like, yeah, of course I am, and of course I'm going to stay connected to them, because at the time it felt like our friendship was unbreakable and we were talking all the time. But after a few years in college, so this was fasting forward to last summer when I was going into this, I guess, friendship breakup with my high school friends, I started to notice a lack of effort on their end. So back in high school, you see your friends 5 days a week, and on the weekends everyone has their own extracurriculars, and occasionally on a long weekend or during holidays like winter break or spring break, you'll make plans with people like for 1 or 2 days, and for those 1 or 2 days everyone is free, so everyone wants to hang out, and you don't really notice like the effort that would go into a relationship, and also the fact that school creates like a perfect effortless environment for you to see your friends literally 5 days of the week. So yeah, I didn't really notice how much effort really needs to go into maintaining a friendship. And fast forward to last year, so 2 years into college, I found myself being the one to always invite them out to plans. And our thing was that we don't really do last minute plans, so we would make plans like 2 weeks in advance or a week in advance, and then I will be the one to follow up on those plans after like 1 to 2 weeks. And 90% of the time, one of the two would fall through and be like, oh, actually I'm not free tomorrow, or just like, oh, could we do another time? And this happened every single time, like more times than not. So I got fed up, and I just told them like, hey, if you guys don't want to be friends, like I don't know what's up, but it seems like every time I'm always the one initiating, and then following up, not only initiating but also following up, and then you guys are following through most of the time. So if you guys don't want to hang out, I would appreciate it if you would just tell me and not have me set time aside for you guys and I rush to get my own work done so I could have that free day on the weekend, and then just like pretty much have you guys slap me in the face figuratively because you cancel on me. And then when I could have also used that time to hang out with my other friends or make plans with other people, and now I can't, and that free day is just like wasted. And you don't really have that many free days once you're in college. So I was pretty angry, and I guess I should have also thought it through like my long text, because I sent them like a long paragraph, and I should have thought it through and made it a little bit less hot-headed, but it was just like in a heat of the moment, and I also hadn't seen these people in months. So yeah, and then I started comparing it to my other friendships, like people I've known only 1 to 2 years in college, and then some of these people, I would make plans with them like weeks in advance. They would never forget the plans, and they would invite me out too. And it was just like a lot better communication. And communication was the main issue here, I believe, because I felt like my frustrations were that they weren't communicating with me. Like these two high school friends were not communicating with me, and there was nothing I could do about it. So I also asked my other friends, just the ones that I knew from college and the ones that I felt like, were pulling their weight in our friendships, if I was just being too sensitive. And they pretty much agree with me that these two high school friends were just not being as respectful, and especially not respectful of my time. And they weren't being, like responsible also. So fast forward a year or like half a year, one of them reaches back out to me, and then we talk, and then I'll call this person like person A. So person A and I were, I would say, best friends. Like she will also call me a best friend when we were in high school. And like when we were calling each other during the first 2 years of college, like if she gets interrupted on her end, she'll say, I'm calling my best friend. And with her, she sent me like a long paragraph, and we pretty much talked through everything via text. And then when we actually called, I thought that we would, talk more through the issue, via speech. But then it felt like she wasn't really that comfortable in talking about it, and it was kind of awkward. So then we just brushed it aside. And I feel like, and I thought that she had understood that I didn't like her flakiness. But come like this past week, we had made plans like a week before last Friday, and then I ended up being the one to follow up again, and I was like, hey, are we still hanging out tomorrow? And she pretty much canceled on me again. And I was like, okay, so how I feel about your flakiness, and then that it's an issue. Like, I don't hold it against you before I ever brought it up that you weren't aware of this bad behavior of yours. But once I bring it up, and once we had this whole like argument and discourse about it, I expect you to be able to fix your behavior, or if you believe that you're in the right, use logical reasoning against me to convince me that I'm in the wrong, right? But she didn't do that, and I assumed that if there was any really good logical debate on her end, she could have said it to me. She would have already said it to me, whether it was through text in the very beginning when we were trying to reconcile, or during our phone call, or after our phone call when things have kind of gone back to normal. And with the second friend, I'll call her person B. So person B and I, she reached back out to me about a month ago, and then we met a couple days ago at a cafe in person, because we both didn't want to say things over text, because the whole issue was that what I said through text was kind of misconstrued, and then my attitude was also like kind of misconstrued. So we were able to talk things out, and I feel like my discussion with person B was a lot more productive than it was with person A. So with person B, I started saying that I expect more communication from you guys, and then she said that she and person A had just assumed that I'm the one that has the role usually of plan making, so they just wait for me to make the plans. But I'm like, hey, I never agreed to that role. Like, I never stepped up to that. I only do it because nobody else does it. And I don't 100% mind making the plans, but if I make the plans and if you guys agree to those plans, I want you guys to follow through. I don't want to, it's frustrating being the one to always like reach out, follow up, and then get rejected. And she said, yeah, she understands my point of view now a little bit more. And she said that with her and person A, so they both have siblings, and I guess they have younger siblings, so they have some family obligations. So we also talked a lot about person A. So with person A, she always takes care of her younger siblings, and a lot of time it would be last minute. And in my opinion, I understand family is like really important. If you're the oldest sibling, sometimes you have, obligations, like certain responsibilities, and I won't like 100% ever get it because I don't have younger siblings or, younger cousins or whatever that I need to take care of. So I'll never 100% get, what comes with that. But at the same time, I feel like if it were me, the way I would handle it is say like I was person A and then my mom told me, hey, you need to take care of your younger sibling tomorrow. But in reality, I already had plans with my friend tomorrow. So the first time this happens, I would cancel on a friend. I'll be like, I'm really sorry, but this came up last minute. But I will also tell my mom, hey, next time in the future, if you need me to take care of my younger siblings, can you please let me know in advance, at least a few days or a week in advance, so I don't have to cancel on my friends all the time because it's rude. And the next time this happens, like say like the second time it's a last minute, hey, can you take care of your younger sibling tomorrow? I would just tell my mom, hey, I'm sorry, but I already told you last time to tell me in advance, and I made an agreement with my friend tomorrow, and I need to respect that. But that's not what she does. And I think it really does come down to respect, and having you and your mom or whoever you have like other obligations to organize your stuff and organize your schedule, and make sure that you're not canceling on people last minute. And I guess it's also like an order of importance. So because like I'm an only child and I don't really have cousins that I'm really close to, or I don't have cousins that I'm close to, period. Haven't seen my cousins in probably 7 to 8 years. To me, friends are really important because, besides your parents, who else are you going to turn to? My friends, right? So I place my friends in high importance, but I guess with these person A and person B, because in my opinion, because they have a bunch of siblings and cousins, I use the word tribe with when I was talking to person B, but they low-key do have their own tribe. They have like a whole community they could fall back on. So I guess friends are just like a luxury for them, and it's not something that they need, like they could very well survive and have people to turn to in times of emergency without their friends. But yeah, that's not really the case with me. And another thing is that the disrespect. I want to talk a little bit more about like what I really mean by that. So, say for example, you make plans for a group project, or, you make a meeting with your professor or your boss. That's something that you will have to respect. And person A and person B have, like, they both said that that's something that they would honor, because if they don't honor that, there's literal, like, repercussions that will ensue. Either, if it's a group project and you bail last minute, they'll tell the professor, or if it's like your boss, who knows, you'll get fired and you won't be able to pay the bills. But I guess when they were like, but if it's with a friend, you could always just cancel. And I'm like, no, you can't cancel, because the consequence, at least with me, will be that I'll be frustrated, I'll be angry at you, and I won't see you as a responsible adult. And who knows, next time, like, I already don't really want to make plans with you. And that's the consequence. And whether or not you feel like that is a consequence that you don't want to experience is on you. Like, maybe you don't care and there's nothing that I can do, so we're no longer friends. But if you do feel like it's a consequence, or like, I guess an after effect, I can't think of the right word at this moment, but if it's an outcome that you don't want to experience or have happen, then do something about it. Don't cancel on me, make me mad, and just make yourself also look like an irresponsible person. And why is it that like friendships aren't as important as your work relationships? I think people always talk about work-life balance, but in reality, a lot of people don't respect the life aspect of that, especially like the people in that life aspect. And also, I guess it also comes back to a more personal feeling that being an only child and like valuing friendships a lot more, is that it is a little bit hurtful that my friends don't seem to value our friendship as much as their family relationships. And I get it. I get family could be like the most important, and friends will never be family for some people, but it still sucks. And the other part of the communication issue is that they don't go the next step. to say like when they're available. So for example, with my other friends, I would say like, oh, are you guys free on Saturday? And if they aren't, they'll say, oh no, I'm not free on Saturday, but what about the week after that? They'll offer up when they are free. But with person A and person B, say like for example, last year in June, I asked on June 1st, hey, are you guys free next week, like this coming weekend? And that'll be like the first week of June. They'll say no, and I'll say, what about the next week? And they'll also say no, and I'll ask about the third week of June. They'll say, hey, I'm also not free that. And by this point, I asked 3 times, and you rejected me 3 times. So in my head, I'm like, okay, you don't want to hang out with me. And I don't know why, but yeah, this is really weird. And in my head, I'm like, okay, these people don't want to hang out with me. It's over. And they somehow hate me, and I don't know why they hate me, but maybe I did something wrong. And I'll be in my head trying to recall everything that ever happened in the last few months, and if I can't think of anything that I did wrong, I get mad, and I'm like, why are you being so why are you just being so dismissive for no reason, when in reality they were busy for the entirety of June. And if I had asked a 4th time or a 5th time, then first week of July they'll be free, and they'll say, yes, I'm free the first week of July. But nobody's gonna do that. And I said, why didn't you just say, hey, I'm not free for the entirety of June? And they're like, oh, we didn't think to do that because we thought that you would keep asking. And I'm like, that is not how communication works. With me, it's one thing, I guess, like the consequence of with me is that I get mad at you guys. But with other people, say your future workplace, this isn't going to work. With your boss, if they keep asking you, hey, are you free like tomorrow or the day after that, you keep saying no, and they'll be like, okay, like this person clearly can't communicate, and you'll get fired. In the real world, there's real consequences. And I guess with person B, at least she understands it now, and she knows like what I want, at least what I expect from a friendship and like in terms of communication. But with person A, since she bailed on me after we discussed this whole thing, I don't want to confront her about it again. I just want to like wait and see how she responds, because if she still acts the same, then she's a lost cause. And unfortunately, like I can't really be best friends with her, which is fine. It's like I feel like some people might take this the wrong way and be like, oh, this girl, she thinks she's like such a catch, and who cares if they're not best friends with her? Like nobody wants to be friends with her. But you know what I mean. I guess like if she likes me enough to have called me a best friend, then maybe this might suck a little bit. I don't know. But I also want to talk a little bit more about just aloofness. It's a weird word. It sounds kind of funny. So I feel like a lot of people right now, they're really aloof when it comes to their friendships. Like they don't want to seem too needy, and as a result, they don't reach out to their friends as much, or they'll wait for their friends to reach out to them, and then they'll agree to hang out, when in reality they really wanted to hang out with their friends, or maintain that relationship with their friends. And I don't know, I feel like maybe I'm on the wrong side of social media, but I see a lot of people talking about how they want to be like self-sufficient, they want to be super hyper independent, and have an existence that isn't reliant on anyone. But I do feel like this hyper independence just doesn't really make much sense, and it's really frustrating, because to me, like, my take is that it makes me feel like you think that you're better than everyone else. And as a friend, like, I wouldn't want to think that I'm like not necessary in my friend's life, like that. Like, what the hell is that? But yeah, I don't have like the most nuanced or thought out, I guess, opinions on this. This is just my general opinion that I don't like it, and maybe I'll make another video in the future about this topic again if I have more thoughts about it. But yeah, this is pretty much it. I think, just to sum things up, I guess, communication is key. And oh yeah, and last thing, I saw a TikTok yesterday, and it was this like Asian guy. I think his username was like Eric something, but he makes like a bunch of I guess like comedy TikToks, like about Asians, SoCal Asians to be specific. But he was like, yeah, if you're in a one-sided friendship, he was like, think about your friendships, and think that if the friendship will crumble if the other person just stops reaching out because you're always waiting for them, or something like this. Maybe it's flipped the other way around, but pretty much it's like if you're the person that's always waiting for your friends to reach out to you, and then pretty much you're in a one-sided friendship. And if you come up with the excuse that, hey, like that's just our dynamic, they're the one to reach out and I'm the one that waits for them to reach out, then you need to stop that because you're being a bad friend. So I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, if anyone has watched this far, thanks for watching. There's a lot of things I want to rant about, but I just don't know if anyone will watch it, and I'm afraid that I'll say something really dumb, and my future employer will see this and think that this girl does not know what she's talking about. But yeah, thanks for watching. You know what, I definitely will talk more about friendship in the future because my situation is still ongoing. So yeah, maybe I'll give positive updates in the future. But as for now, like, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.